Our friend Mina has a small pitcher of water. In the morning, someone comes and asks for a cup, and Mina happily pours it for them. At noon, another person asks, and Mina pours again. Late in the afternoon, one more person arrives, and she continues to share. By evening, there is exactly one single cup of water left in Mina's pitcher. At this point, Mina herself is very thirsty. But the trouble is, right at that moment, another person steps up and holds out an empty cup to her. Mina stands there. She looks at the other person's cup, looks at her pitcher, and then looks at that little bit of water left. In that moment, a question arises. Why does keeping the last cup of water for ourselves sometimes make us feel more selfish than giving it away? Actually, Mina's pitcher might not contain water. Do you know what it holds? It could be your time, your energy, attention, money, or patience, or simply a completely private evening, a weekend you've been looking forward to for a long time. Try to remember. There are days when you've worked exhaustively from Monday to Friday. That evening, the only thing you want to do is take a shower, eat a really good meal, lie down in bed, and absolutely not talk to anyone. Then the phone vibrates. A message pops up. Going out tonight? The moment you read the text, the answer in your heart is already no. But somehow, your fingers still type, "Let me see." Honestly, there is nothing to see here. You know very well that you are already too tired. The truth is, what you are considering right now isn't whether you want to go or not, but rather if the other person will be sad if you decline. That is exactly when we touch upon the last cup of water rule. Some of us have a remarkable capacity for giving. You might be willing to give away 90% of your energy, 90% of your time, and 90% of your patience without a single complaint. But strangely enough, when you want to keep just that final 10% for yourself, you start to feel guilty. The core issue isn't that you don't know how to give. Perhaps, the issue is that you don't truly believe you have the right to keep a portion for yourself. Let's talk about the moment you decide to say no. When Mina says no to a request, the other person might be a bit let down. They stay silent for a few seconds, or reply to the message a bit more bluntly than usual. Immediately, Mina's brain goes into overdrive. Oh no, I made them sad, and then concludes, I really am a selfish person. The truth is, you aren't afraid of saying no. You are afraid of the other person's reaction after hearing the word no. But we need to make this clear. Just because someone is disappointed that they didn't get what they wanted, absolutely does not mean you did something wrong. It's like the other person is holding a giant balloon of expectations. When you say no, that balloon deflates a little. And instinctively, you immediately panic and rush over to pump it back up. But my friend, not everyone who is disappointed by you is someone who has been hurt by you. So why do we have this need to pump that balloon back up at all costs? Because for some people, they don't simply like seeing others happy. They need others to be happy with them in order to feel safe themselves. It's like Mina has a traffic light board in her head. The other person is happy. The light is green. The other person is a bit cold. The light turns yellow. The other person is sad. The light flashes bright red. And so Mina has to frantically run back and forth, trying every way to turn all the lights around her back to green so she can sleep peacefully. You might be exactly like that. Only when others are happy do you find it easy to breathe. When their attitude grows a little cold, you start questioning yourself. They just reply with a simple okay, a very normal okay, but you will open it and read it again 5 times. And in your head at that moment, you might have already directed a full-length tragic drama series. Do you know where this habit comes from? Imagine Mina when she was little. When little Mina was well-behaved, the adults were happy. When Mina obeyed, she was praised. When Mina did what everyone wanted, the atmosphere in the house was peaceful. But whenever she protested, said no, or did things differently, what happened? The adults would turn cold, frown, stay silent, or in some way, make her feel like she was truly naughty. The unconscious lesson Mina learned from those days was, if you want things to be peaceful, the only way is to please others. Now we are grown up, and the situation is completely different, but your body seems to still be using a very old alarm bell. In the past, adults being unhappy could truly be a terrifying threat to a child. But now, that friend is just a tiny bit disappointed, yet the bell in your head still blares as loudly as it did when you were little. And then what happens when you constantly say yes just to keep that bell quiet? Initially, everyone is very happy, but after that, you start to feel exhausted. You get easily irritated. Your energy is completely drained. You start making excuses to avoid messages. And worst of all, you begin to feel resentful toward the very people you voluntarily helped. It's an ironic paradox. You say yes because you want to protect the relationship, but those insincere yeses, suppressed over a long time, end up creating resentment toward the very person you are trying to please. Remember this. An honest no is sometimes much kinder than a resentful yes. Let's go back to Mina's empty pitcher. A new person comes to ask for water, and she has nothing left to pour. Sacrificing and giving are never wrong. The problem lies here. You always wait until you are completely depleted before you dare to allow yourself a valid reason to stop. But my friend, you don't need to be exhausted to be allowed to rest. You don't need to be completely empty to be allowed to keep something for yourself. So how do we change? I won't teach you 5 tactful ways to say no, because honestly, you already know how to decline. What you really need to practice is learning how to let others be disappointed without immediately rushing to fix their emotions. Next time you decide to decline, try the 10-minute no-fix exercise. You just need to say one clear sentence, "I can't join you today." And then, for exactly the next 10 minutes, don't send anything else. Don't give a lengthy explanation. Don't send a basket of crying emojis to soften the situation. And absolutely do not offer to do something else to make up for it. In those 10 minutes of silence, observe yourself. See if you are feeling anxious. Do you want to pick up your phone and text back? Are you imagining them hating you? This exercise isn't about the word no. The exercise is about the 10 minutes right after that no. Of course, setting boundaries doesn't at all mean you have the right to ignore other people's feelings, or become heartless or selfish. It simply means other people's feelings always deserve respect, but it is not always your responsibility to go and fix them. Back to the first moment of the video. Mina still has exactly 1 cup of water left. The other person is still holding their hand out. This time, Mina looks at the other person. She looks at the cup of water. Then she slowly drinks her portion of water. The other person might be a bit disappointed, but then they will also turn away to find water somewhere else. No earth-shattering disaster happens. Their relationship doesn't vanish into thin air. And Mina, definitely, is still a good person. Perhaps growing up isn't learning how to never disappoint anyone. Rather, it's realizing that others are allowed to be disappointed, and you are still allowed to stand by your decision. They might be a little sad about your decision, but that doesn't turn you into a terrible person. And if there is exactly 1 cup of water left in your pitcher, remember that sometimes the person who needs it the most is you.